Hi everyone, my name is Kate Falk and I am a student of German at Emory University. Today we will be discussing the distinction between the two verbs in German that mean to know, kennen and wissen. While in English we use one word, German distinguishes between types of knowledge. Most books describe wissen as meaning to know as a fact and kennen as meaning to be familiar with. Many students find this distinction unclear and see overlap between when each use is appropriate. The goal is that at the end of this video, you, the viewer, will understand the differences in meanings of the two words, understand when each form should be used, and be able to distinguish between when to use kennen or wissen when speaking or writing, based on the grammatical context and/or meaning. As described in the Rankin textbook, you should use kennen to express knowledge or familiarity with someone or something. This form is often used to express the English sense of being acquainted with. So for example, one would say, Kennst du Frau Schmidt? Or Ich kenne dieses Lied. You should use wissen, on the other hand, to describe factual knowledge. So for example, one would say, Sie weiß die Antworten. Or, as said in this example from Die Zeit, weiß nichts von unserer Arbeit, or he knows nothing of our work. You will never use wissen to mean to know a person. Therefore, the example, Ich weiß Monika, is very incorrect. Either kennen or wissen can be used with small tokens or what Rankin calls discrete bits of knowledge, such as telephone numbers, names, and ages. Either form is correct, and therefore one can say, Kennst du seine Adresse? Or weißt du seine Adresse? Similarly, one can also say, Wir kennen ihre Handynummer, or Wir wissen ihre Handynummer. Both forms are correct in these cases. Another way to figure out which form to use is to base it off of certain structural tendencies each form takes. So for example, the kennen form typically takes an object. The wissen form, on the other hand, typically is followed by a preposition. Note the highlighted examples. The first probably refers to someone who is very familiar with Wagner's music and has listened to it. The second refers to someone who knows a lot of facts about Wagner's music. While they are similar, they are not the same. Now note the second examples of each and compare. Wissen is also used to introduce subordinate clauses, for example, weiß, dass der Beste ist, or to introduce indirect questions such as Weißt du, wo sie wohnt? Certain exceptions exist where neither form is used to express knowledge. To express knowing a language, use the verb können. To express knowing a skill or knowing how to do something, there are two options. Using können, for example, Ich kann Klavier spielen, or rephrase the statement with man, for example, Ich weiß nicht, wie man ein Rad fährt. To wrap it up, kennen means to be familiar or acquainted with and is typically used with an object. Wissen means to know something as a fact and is typically followed by a preposition or used to introduce a subordinate clause. Both forms can be used to express knowledge of tokens of information such as names or ages. Neither form is used to indicate knowing a language or how to do something. Now we can practice. Look at the following two example sentences from the Rankin textbook and try to decide what the difference in meaning is. The first sentence with weiß means she knows the names of many European capital cities. The second sentence with kennt means she knows or is familiar with many European capital cities, as in she has visited them. For the following practice questions, please read through the question and fill in the blank with the appropriate form. For this example, the Wissen form of the verb is correct because it is used to introduce a subordinate clause. In this example, the Kennen form of the verb is correct as it refers to knowing a person, i.e. meinen Bruder. Note also that the verb is followed by an object and not a prepositional phrase. Here, hopefully you knew to use a form of Wissen as the verb is accompanied by a prepositional phrase. In this sentence, both Wissen and Kennen are allowed, since a name is a token of knowledge. Here you use a form of the verb können to indicate knowing a language. How would you say the phrase, I know Nico in German? Hopefully, you translated it to Ich kenne Nico, as Wissen is never used to refer to a person. Now, here is a much more complicated example found in a corpus. In English, the phrase would be, whoever knows me knows that soccer is my life. How would you say this in German? The correct answer is, wer mich kennt, weiß, dass Fußball mein Leben ist. The first form is kennen because it refers to the mich, me. The second form is weiß because it introduces a subordinate clause. If you are interested, here are some other resources you may find helpful. Thank you all for listening. I hope this tutorial has been informative and helped you in your efforts to improve your German.